Have you ever wondered why love sometimes hurts? Why the person you care about most can also cause you the deepest pain? Why something that should bring joy so often brings suffering instead? You're not alone in these questions. 2,500 years ago, beneath the Bodhi tree, the Buddha saw through the very nature of love itself. What he discovered wasn't that love causes pain, but that our misunderstanding of love, our clinging to it, our fear of losing it, creates the suffering we experience. Tonight, as you settle into this moment, let these ancient teachings wash over you like gentle rain on still water. This isn't just philosophy. These are practices tested by millions across centuries. Wisdom that transforms not just relationships, but the very heart that experiences them. Close your eyes for a moment. Think of someone you love. Feel that warmth in your chest, that tenderness, that wish for their happiness. Now imagine that same quality, but without the grip of fear, without the need to possess, without the anxiety of losing. That space you just glimpsed, that's where Buddhist love lives. It's vast, unconditional, free, and it's waiting for you to discover it, not someday, but right now, in this very breath. The Buddha didn't teach us to love less. He taught us to love more, to love better, to love in a way that liberates rather than binds. In the monasteries of ancient India, monks discovered that true love isn't about holding tight, it's about opening wide. Picture a lotus flower. Its roots deep in mud, yet it blooms pristine above the water's surface. Your love can be like this, grounded in the messy reality of human existence, yet radiating pure, untainted kindness. The mud doesn't make the lotus less beautiful. In fact, without the mud, there would be no lotus at all. Think about the last time someone said, "I love you," to you. What did you feel? Joy, probably. But underneath, perhaps there was also a whisper of anxiety. Will they always love me? What if they leave? What if I'm not enough? This is the paradox of conventional love. It brings us close to others, while simultaneously creating the conditions for our suffering. The Buddha saw this clearly. He didn't say to avoid love. He showed us how to transform it from a source of clinging and fear into a fountain of boundless joy and freedom. In the teachings we'll explore tonight, you'll discover that Buddhist love isn't cold or detached. It's warm, engaged, present. It simply removes the poison of possessiveness that turns sweetness bitter. A mother holding her newborn child experiences profound love, yet she knows even as she gazes at that tiny face that her child will grow, change, eventually leave. She loves anyway. She loves because of the impermanence, not despite it. Every moment becomes precious precisely because it won't last forever. This is the beginning of wisdom in love. The ancient texts speak of 4 kinds of love, 4 qualities that together create what the Buddha called the divine abodes. Loving kindness, the wish for others to be happy. Compassion, the wish for others to be free from suffering. Sympathetic joy, delight in others' happiness. And equanimity, the ability to love with balance and wisdom. These aren't separate loves for different people. They're facets of one jewel, different expressions of a heart that has learned to love without conditions, without boundaries, without end. Imagine standing on a mountaintop as the sun rises. The light doesn't discriminate. It falls on the deserving and undeserving alike. It warms the saint and the sinner, the friend and the stranger. This is the quality of Buddhist love. It's not earned or merited. It simply is, like sunlight, like rain, like the air we breathe. When you love this way, You're not diminished by giving. You're expanded, enlarged, made infinite. The heart isn't a container that can be emptied. It's a spring that flows more freely the more we let it give. You might be thinking, but what about my partner? What about the one person I choose above all others? Buddhist teachings don't deny romantic love. They simply place it in a larger context. Your beloved becomes not your possession, but a fellow traveler on this path. You don't love them less for understanding that they're changing, impermanent, ultimately not yours to hold. You love them more deeply because you see them clearly, without the fog of projection and fantasy. You meet them where they actually are, not where you wish they would be. Throughout this journey tonight, we'll move slowly through these teachings, letting each one settle into your awareness like snow falling on water. There's no rush. These truths have waited 25 centuries. They can wait for your breath to deepen, for your mind to quiet, for your heart to open just a little more. Buddhist love is patient. It knows that transformation doesn't happen through force, but through gentle, persistent attention. Right now, wherever you are, you're carrying the weight of relationships, the spoken and unspoken expectations, the fear of disappointing or being disappointed, the exhaustion of trying to be what others need while somehow also being yourself. What if you could set that weight down? Not abandon the relationships, but transform the way you hold them. Like learning to carry water in an open palm rather than a clenched fist. This is what these teachings offer. Not an escape from love, but a doorway into its truest expression. The Buddha once said that hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love alone is healed. In your relationships, you've probably noticed this truth. When met with anger, anger escalates. When met with love, something softens. But what about when you're the one who's angry? When you're the one who's been hurt? This is where Buddhist teachings become truly revolutionary. They show us how to love even when it's hard, even when we don't feel like it, even when everything in us wants to close down and protect. They show us that love isn't just a feeling we wait to have. It's a practice we choose to embody. As we move forward, you'll learn specific practices, ways to cultivate loving kindness toward yourself and others, techniques for communicating that build bridges rather than walls, methods for releasing resentment and finding forgiveness, approaches to maintaining balance when emotions run high. But more than techniques, you'll discover a way of being, a stance toward life that sees every encounter, every conversation, every conflict as an opportunity to practice the art of love. In ancient times, parents would teach their children the Metta Sutta, the discourse on loving kindness, before they could even fully understand the words. The sounds themselves were considered a blessing, a protection. As you listen tonight, let these teachings work on levels deeper than intellectual understanding. Let them bypass your analyzing mind and speak directly to the heart that knows, that has always known, how to love. You're not learning something new. You're remembering something ancient, something you've carried within you all along. The path ahead isn't easy, but it's simple. Love without clinging. Care without controlling. Give without expecting. Stay without demanding. Be present without planning. Speak truthfully without harming. Listen deeply without judging. Forgive fully without forgetting your worth. These aren't superhuman achievements. They're natural expressions of a heart that has learned to rest in its true nature. And that heart is yours. It's been waiting, patiently, for you to come home. So settle in. Let your breathing slow and deepen. Feel the weight of your body supported by whatever surface you're resting on. This moment right now is a doorway. On the other side isn't a perfect relationship or the end of all difficulty. On the other side is simply you, more free, more present, more able to love. And that, the Buddha taught, is everything we truly need. The foundation, Metta, universal loving-kindness. In a monastery nestled in the mountains of ancient India, a group of monks received permission to practice meditation in a distant forest during the rainy season. Each monk chose a large tree for shelter and began their intensive practice. But something unexpected happened. The tree deities who lived in those trees found themselves unable to remain in their homes above the meditating monks. The spiritual power of the meditation forced them down to the ground. Realizing the monks would stay for months, the deities grew annoyed. Night after night, they tried to frighten the monks away with terrifying appearances and disturbing sounds. Exhausted and unable to practice, the monks returned to the Buddha. They explained their predicament, expecting he might suggest a different location. Instead, the Buddha taught them something that would become one of the most powerful practices in all of Buddhism. He taught them the Metta Sutta, the discourse on loving kindness, and instructed them to return to the forest, radiating thoughts of love to all beings. The monks did as instructed. When they returned to their trees, pervading the entire atmosphere with boundless loving kindness, everything changed. The tree deities, touched by this pure love, not only allowed the monks to stay, but became protectors of their practice. This is the power of Metta. Not a weapon, but a force that transforms hostility into harmony. The Pali word metta comes from mita, meaning friend. But not the casual kind of friendship based on shared interests or mutual benefit. Metta means being a true friend to all beings, the kind of friend who wishes nothing but the deepest happiness for everyone, without exception, without reservation, without end. What is this quality exactly? When you see a baby sleeping peacefully, something softens in your chest. You don't need the baby to do anything for you. You don't expect anything in return for your affection. You simply delight in its peaceful rest. That's the beginning of metta. Now imagine extending that same quality to the person sitting next to you on the bus, to the clerk at the grocery store having a difficult day, to the politician whose views infuriate you, to the ex who broke your heart. This is the practice, this expansion of the heart's natural capacity for goodwill. The Buddha described metta with extraordinary care in the Metta Sutta, which every Buddhist child learns by heart. He said we should regard all beings as a mother regards her only child. Picture a mother whose infant is threatened. She doesn't hesitate. She doesn't calculate. Her entire being moves to protect that child. She would sacrifice everything, face any danger, endure any hardship. This is the standard the Buddha sets for our love, not reserved for our own children or closest friends, but extended to all beings throughout the cosmos. You might be thinking, that's impossible. I can't love a stranger like I love my own child. And you're right, if we're talking about the same kind of emotional attachment. But metta isn't about feeling gushy warmth for everyone. It's about wishing them well, hoping for their happiness, wanting them to be free from suffering. You can wish this for someone you've never met. You can wish this for someone who annoys you. You can even wish this for someone who has harmed you, though this takes practice. The practice of metta begins, surprisingly, with yourself. This troubles many people. Isn't that selfish? Shouldn't we focus on others first? But the Buddha was profoundly practical. If your own heart is contracted with self-hatred, if you're constantly at war with yourself, how can you offer genuine love to anyone else? It would be like trying to pour tea from an empty pot. You need to fill yourself first, not out of selfishness, but out of simple necessity. So we start here, with you, right now. Close your eyes if you'd like. Place your hand on your heart, feel it beating, keeping you alive, asking nothing in return. This heart has carried you through everything. Every heartbreak, every failure, every moment of joy and sorrow. It's never stopped working for you, never given up on you, never abandoned its post. Can you feel even a little tenderness toward this faithful companion? Now silently repeat these traditional phrases, letting them sink into your being. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I be peaceful and at ease. Don't rush. Let each phrase rest in your awareness like a smooth stone, dropped into still water. May I be happy. Not in some future when conditions are perfect, but now, as I am, with all my flaws and struggles. May I be healthy. This body that carries me through the world, may it be strong and vital. May I be safe. In a world of uncertainty, may I find refuge. May I be peaceful and at ease. May the constant striving cease just for this moment. If resistance comes up, if a voice inside says, "You don't deserve these wishes," that's okay. Notice it. Don't fight it. Just gently return to the phrases. The practice isn't about achieving a feeling. It's about planting seeds. Some seeds sprout quickly. Others wait beneath the soil for seasons before emerging. Trust the process. After spending time directing loving kindness toward yourself, the practice naturally expands. Think of someone who makes you smile, someone easy to love, a mentor, a dear friend, a grandparent, even a beloved pet. Picture their face. Recall a specific moment with them. Now offer them the same phrases. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. Feel your heart opening like a morning flower, directing this beam of goodwill toward them. You're not trying to make anything happen to them through mental telepathy. You're simply cultivating the intention for their well-being. That cultivation changes you, opens you, softens you. Next comes a neutral person, someone you see regularly but don't know well. The mail carrier, the barista who makes your coffee, a neighbor you wave to occasionally. This is where the practice gets interesting. Can you wish happiness for someone you have no emotional investment in? Someone who doesn't give you anything. This begins to break down the walls we build around our love, the categories of who deserves our care and who doesn't. Then, when you're ready, perhaps not today, but eventually, you include a difficult person, not someone who has deeply traumatized you, at least not at first. Start smaller. Someone who irritates you, who triggers minor frustration. Picture them. And here's the radical part. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. Your mind will probably rebel. Why should they be happy? They're rude, inconsiderate, annoying. But here's the insight. Their happiness would actually make them less difficult. Happy people don't usually go around making others miserable. If they were truly at peace, they wouldn't be acting in ways that disturb your peace. Finally, the practice expands to all beings everywhere, in all directions, above and below, near and far, born and yet to be born. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful and at ease. You're not trying to personally fix everyone's problems. You're simply holding the intention, creating a field of goodwill that radiates out like light from a lamp. This isn't abstract philosophy. Research has shown that regular metta practice actually changes the brain. It increases activity in areas associated with empathy and emotional processing. It reduces activity in regions linked to anxiety and fear. People who practice loving-kindness meditation show increased positive emotions, improved relationships, reduced pain, and better vagal tone, which is associated with heart health. The Buddha didn't have MRI machines, but he knew from direct experience that cultivating metta transforms us at the deepest levels. In relationships, metta becomes your foundation. When your partner irritates you, instead of immediately reacting, you can touch this ground of loving kindness you've been cultivating. May you be happy. This doesn't mean accepting harmful behavior. It means meeting the moment with kindness rather than reactivity. When you argue, metta helps you remember that this person you're fighting with is someone you care about. Someone who, like you, just wants to be happy and free from suffering. Metta also protects against the corrosive effects of resentment. In relationships, small hurts accumulate. They build up like plaque on arteries, eventually blocking the flow of love. But when you practice metta regularly, these small hurts can't take root. They arise and pass away like clouds in a vast sky. You don't deny them or suppress them. You simply don't feed them with rumination and story-making. The hurt happens. You feel it fully, and then you return to your practice. May you be happy. May I be happy. May we both be free from suffering. There's a story of a woman who practiced metta meditation for years. One day she encountered a man who had deeply wronged her decades earlier. Her body tensed, old anger rising like a familiar ghost. But then, almost automatically, the phrases arose. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. She was shocked. The anger was still there, but it wasn't in charge anymore. Beneath it, this current of loving kindness had been flowing all along, waiting. She realized the practice had given her a choice. She could feed the anger or feed the love. For the first time, she was truly free. This is what metta offers, not the elimination of difficult emotions, but the creation of space around them. Like the sky holds storms, but isn't damaged by them, your heart can hold hurt, while still maintaining its fundamental quality of love. This is revolutionary. Most of us think we need to feel loving before we can act lovingly. Metta reverses this. We practice acting with loving intention, and the feelings follow. We don't wait to be inspired. We simply begin, again and again, planting these seeds of goodwill. In your relationship, try this. Each morning before you see your partner, spend just 2 minutes directing loving kindness toward them. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. That's it. You'll be amazed how this simple practice changes your interactions throughout the day. You'll notice their good qualities more. You'll be less reactive to their quirks. You'll approach conflicts with more curiosity and less defensiveness. Not because you're suppressing your authentic reactions, but because you've shifted the ground of your being from self-protection to goodwill. The Buddha taught that the highest blessing, the greatest protection, is a heart filled with loving kindness, not because it makes bad things never happen, but because it transforms how you meet whatever arises. With metta, life becomes workable. Relationships become opportunities for practice rather than tests you pass or fail. Love becomes not something you wait to feel, but something you actively cultivate, like a gardener tending a plant through all seasons. As you lie here tonight, let these teachings of Metta settle into your heart like morning dew on grass. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. These aren't just words. They're medicine for a world that teaches us to be suspicious, guarded, protective. They're rebellion against the idea that love must be earned or deserved. They're the truth that your heart has always known. We're all just trying to be happy, trying to avoid suffering, trying to make our way through this mysterious existence. And in that fundamental similarity, in that shared vulnerability, lies the foundation for a love that knows no bounds. Understanding attachment versus true love. There's a famous teaching from Tibetan Buddhism that perfectly captures the difference between love and attachment. Love is wanting someone to be happy, Lama Zopa Rinpoche said. Attachment is wanting it to be me that makes them happy. Read that again slowly. Let it penetrate. Most of what we call love is actually this second thing, attachment disguised in love's clothing. It's about our need, our ego, our desire to be the source of someone's happiness. True love just wants the person to be happy, period. Whether they're happy because of you, without you, or even with someone else. This distinction sounds simple, but it cuts to the heart of why relationships cause so much suffering. We say, I love you, but what we often mean is, I need you to validate me, complete me, make me feel whole. We say, I want you to be happy, but what we actually mean is, I want you to be happy with me, to choose me, to never leave me. This is attachment, and attachment, the Buddha taught with absolute clarity, is the root cause of suffering. Picture a child clutching a toy. The tighter they grip, the more their hands hurt. They're so focused on not losing the toy that they can't even enjoy playing with it. When we're attached in relationships, we're that child. We hold so tightly that we create the very pain we're trying to avoid. Our beloved becomes not a person we delight in, but a possession we fear losing. Every interaction carries the weight of that fear. Every disagreement threatens the security we're desperately seeking. But here's what confuses people. Buddhism talks about non-attachment, and they think it means not caring, not forming bonds, remaining distant and aloof. This is a profound misunderstanding. Non-attachment doesn't mean non-loving. It means loving without the poison of clinging. Think of holding water in your open palm versus trying to grip it in your fist. The open palm can hold water perfectly well, but the moment you clench your fist, trying to possess the water, it slips through your fingers. Love is the open palm. Attachment is the fist. In the early Buddhist texts, the Buddha never tells people to avoid relationships or stop caring for others. What he points to again and again is the quality of our caring. Are we caring in a way that's free, that allows the other person to be fully themselves, that doesn't contract into neediness and control? Or are we caring in a way that says, I need you to be this way so I can feel okay? A woman once told me about her marriage. She loved her husband deeply, or so she thought. But she noticed that whenever he wanted time with friends, she felt abandoned. When he pursued hobbies without her, she felt rejected. When he was simply quiet and introspective, she worried he didn't love her anymore. Her happiness was completely dependent on his constant attention and validation. she wasn't loving him. She was attached to him. And that attachment was slowly suffocating their relationship. Through meditation practice and honest self-reflection, she began to see the difference. Real love was wanting her husband to be happy, even when that meant he needed space from her. Real love was supporting his friendships and interests, even though it meant less time together. Real love was trusting his love for her, even during his quiet moments. This shift from attachment to genuine love didn't happen overnight. It was a daily practice of catching herself when the clinging arose, feeling the fear underneath it, and consciously choosing to open her hand instead of closing it into a fist. Attachment weakens us. It gives away the key to our happiness. When we're attached, we're constantly monitoring. Does he still love me? Is she thinking about leaving? Am I enough? This constant vigilance is exhausting. It's like trying to control the weather. You can't do it, but the attempt itself creates endless stress. Love, by contrast, strengthens us. We remain in charge of our own happiness, while simultaneously wishing happiness for the other. We stay whole, while also being intimate. Here's a practice for recognizing the difference in your own life. Notice when you think, "I love you," thoughts about your partner. Now examine those thoughts carefully. Are they really about their well-being, their freedom, their genuine happiness? Or are they tinged with need, with the subtle message, "Because I need you. Don't leave me. Make me feel worthy"? This isn't about judging yourself. These attachment patterns run deep. They're wired into us from childhood, when we genuinely did need others for our survival. But now, as adults, we can begin to disentangle love from need. The Buddha taught that attachment arises from a fundamental misunderstanding about the nature of reality. We believe things are permanent and can be possessed. We look at our partner and think, "Mine." We imagine the relationship will last forever if we just hold tight enough. But everything in this universe, without exception, is changing every moment. Your partner is changing. You're changing. The relationship is changing. This isn't bad news. It's just the truth. And when we align our hearts with this truth, instead of fighting it, a strange thing happens. Instead of the impermanence making us desperate, it makes every moment precious. Imagine you have a beautiful flower. You have two choices. You can cut it and bring it inside, or you can control it, keep it close, make sure no one else enjoys it. It will die within days. Or you can leave it growing in the garden, visit it daily, delight in its blooming, accept that others will also enjoy it, and know that eventually it will wither. Which is the loving choice? Attachment cuts the flower. Love leaves it growing. In relationships, this plays out in countless ways. Attachment wants to control. You can't talk to that person. You have to dress this way. You need to want what I want. Love trusts. I trust you to make wise decisions. I trust that if this relationship is meant to continue, it will. I trust that your happiness, even if it eventually leads you away from me, is worth supporting. Attachment contracts. Love expands. This doesn't mean accepting harmful behavior. That's important to clarify. If your partner is abusive, lying, betraying your trust, healthy boundaries are essential. Non-attachment doesn't mean being a doormat. It means not clinging to someone who is wrong for you simply because you're afraid of being alone. It means having the clarity to see when a relationship has become toxic and the strength to walk away, wishing them well, even as you protect yourself. There's a subtle but profound difference between healthy boundaries and attachment-driven control. Healthy boundaries say, I won't accept this treatment. Attachment-driven control says, you can't do that thing that triggers my insecurity. Healthy boundaries are about protecting yourself. Control is about managing your anxiety by managing someone else. Learning to distinguish these takes practice and honest self-examination. Buddhism also recognizes different levels of love. Affectionate love is just liking people, having warm, fuzzy feelings toward them. This is pleasant but unstable because it depends on how we're feeling in any given moment. Cherishing love goes deeper. It comes from reflecting on how kind someone has been to us, how much they've done for us. We begin to hold them dear, to appreciate them fundamentally. This is more stable, but can still turn into attachment if we're not careful. Then there's wishing love, which is metta, the quality we explored earlier. This is the wish for someone to be happy and free from suffering, independent of what they give us or how they make us feel. This is true love according to Buddhism. It's not dependent on the other person's behavior. It's a stance we take toward all beings, stronger towards some than others, yes, but fundamentally the same quality throughout. Many people ask, if I become non-attached, won't I lose the passion in my relationship? Won't everything become bland and lukewarm? Intiyama. This question reveals how much we've confused attachment with intensity. Real passion comes from presence, from being fully with someone without the filter of fear. When you're not worried about losing them, you can actually see them. When you're not trying to control them, you can enjoy them. The intensity doesn't diminish. It becomes clean, pure, undiluted by anxiety. Think of it like music. Attachment is like listening to beautiful music, but being so worried about it ending that you can't enjoy it. Every note carries the pain of impending silence. Non-attached love hears each note fully, delights in it completely, and lets it fade naturally into the next note. The music doesn't become less beautiful. It becomes more beautiful because you're actually listening instead of clinging. In your relationship right now, notice the clinging. Notice when you're trying to hold water in your fist. The moment you become aware of it, something shifts. You don't have to force yourself to stop clinging. Just see it clearly. Feel where it lives in your body, usually as tightness in the chest or stomach. Breathe into that tightness. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I open my hand? Usually it's fear of abandonment, of not being enough, of being alone. These are old fears, often rooted in childhood experiences. They're valid, they're real, and they're not the truth of this moment. The practice is simple, but not easy. Again and again, open your hand. Not because you don't care, but because caring deeply doesn't require gripping tightly. You can love someone completely, while also releasing your expectations, your need to control, your fantasy of how things should be. This is the great paradox of Buddhist love. The more you let go, the more you can truly hold. The less you demand, the more you receive. Not through some mystical law of attraction, but through the simple fact that when you stop strangling the relationship with your needs, it has room to breathe and grow. As you rest here tonight, feel into your relationships. Where are you holding tight? Where has fear masqueraded as love? Where could you loosen your grip just a little, trusting that love doesn't need a stranglehold to survive? This inquiry is gentle. It's not about condemning yourself for being attached. We're all attached. It's human. But we can also slowly, patiently, learn a different way. A way that loves deeply without drowning in need. A way that cares completely without collapsing into codependence. A way that opens the hand and discovers that love doesn't escape. It remains, transformed from something we grip to something we rest in, like a bird returning each evening to its tree, not because it's forced to, but because it's home. The power of presence, mindfulness in relationships. There's a Vietnamese monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, who changed how millions of people understand Buddhist practice. He didn't do it through complex philosophy or rigorous meditation retreats. He did it by bringing Buddhism into everyday life, especially into relationships. One of his most famous teachings is deceptively simple. Darling, I am here for you. Just 7 words. But they contain the entirety of what it means to love mindfully. Think about the last conversation you had with someone you care about. Were you actually there? Or was your mind planning what to say next, checking your phone, thinking about work, wondering what to make for dinner? We spend so much of our time physically present, but mentally absent. Our loved ones are talking to us, but we're somewhere else entirely. Then we wonder why we feel disconnected, why intimacy has faded, why misunderstandings multiply. Mindfulness in relationships isn't complicated. It's simply being truly present with the person in front of you. Sounds easy, right? Try it for just 5 minutes and you'll discover it might be the hardest thing you've ever attempted. Your mind will wander dozens of times. You'll have to bring it back again and again. This is the practice. Not achieving perfect attention, but noticing when you've drifted and returning over and over with patience and kindness. Thich Nhat Hanh teaches 4 mantras for true love. The first is, darling, I am here for you. This mantra acknowledges a profound truth. The greatest gift you can give another person is your true presence, not your physical proximity while you're scrolling through your phone, not your distracted attention while your mind rehearses arguments, your full, undivided, wholehearted presence. When you say these words, either out loud or silently in your heart, you're making a commitment. I'm putting everything else aside. In this moment, you have all of me. Try this. The next time your partner comes home from work, or calls you, or simply enters the room, stop whatever you're doing. Take a breath. Look at them. Really look. Not a glance, but a gaze that sees, and say, even if only in your mind, darling, I am here for you. Notice what shifts. Maybe nothing at first. But if you make this a practice, you'll begin to notice that they soften. Something relaxes. Because on a deep level, we all just want to be seen, to know that we matter, that someone is fully present with us in this fleeting moment. The second mantra is, darling, I know you are there, and I am very happy. This one recognizes and celebrates the other person's presence. How often do we take the people we love for granted? They're there, day after day, and we barely notice. We're more attentive to our devices than to the human beings sharing our lives. This mantra is an antidote to that unconsciousness. It says, I see you. I recognize you. I'm grateful that you exist, that you're here, that your path has crossed mine. Imagine your partner hears you say this, with full sincerity, even once. I know you are there, and I am very happy. Not, I'm happy about what you did for me, or I'm happy when you meet my needs. Just, I'm happy that you exist. This is getting close to that quality of metta we explored earlier. You're not loving someone for what they do or provide. You're loving the fact of their being. You're delighting in their existence itself. This kind of love asks for nothing. It simply appreciates. The third mantra addresses suffering directly. Darling, I know you are suffering. And that is why I am here for you. In relationships, we often don't want to acknowledge each other's suffering. It makes us uncomfortable. We want to fix it, or minimize it, or change the subject. But this mantra simply says, I see your pain. I acknowledge it. I'm not running away from it. My presence itself is my response. This doesn't mean you have to solve every problem, or take away every hurt. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is simply be present with someone's suffering without trying to change it. A friend told me about sitting with his dying mother. He felt helpless, agonized by his inability to save her. Then he remembered this teaching. Mom, I know you're suffering, and I'm here with you. He stopped trying to fix or change anything. He just held her hand and was present. She relaxed visibly. She wasn't alone. That was enough. In your relationship, when your partner is struggling with something, resist the urge to immediately problem solve. Try this mantra first. I know you're suffering, and I'm here for you. Let them feel your presence. Let them lean into the comfort of being seen in their pain. Often, that's more healing than any advice you could offer. The fourth mantra is the hardest. Darling, I am suffering. Please help. This requires vulnerability, the willingness to admit you're not okay, that you need support. Many of us were taught to be strong, independent, to handle things on our own. But relationships deepen through shared vulnerability. When you can say, I'm suffering, please help, you're offering your partner a gift. The gift of being needed, of being able to show up for you. Notice the mantra doesn't say, you made me suffer. It's not accusatory. It simply acknowledges your suffering and asks for help. This is crucial in conflict. Instead of attacking, you always do this. You might say, I'm feeling hurt, and I need your help understanding what happened. The shift from blame to vulnerable request changes everything. But these mantras are just the beginning. Mindfulness in relationships shows up in countless small moments. It's in how you listen when someone is talking to you. Are you waiting for your turn to speak? Or are you truly taking in what they're saying? There's a practice in Buddhism called deep listening. You listen not to respond, but to understand. You listen not to judge, but to receive. You listen with your full attention, as if nothing else in the world matters in this moment. Try this. When your partner is speaking, don't plan your response. Don't evaluate whether you agree or disagree. Don't think about what this reminds you of. Just listen. Hear not only their words, but the feeling underneath them. Notice their body language, their tone, the spaces between words. If you find yourself drifting into thought, gently return to listening. At the end, before responding, take a breath. Maybe even repeat back what you heard. It sounds like you're feeling. This ensures you actually understood and shows you were really listening. Mindfulness also transforms how we eat together. How often do you share a meal while watching TV, scrolling phones, or eating in rushed silence? Thich Nhat Hanh teaches about eating an orange with full awareness. You hold it, feel its weight and texture. You notice its color, how the light plays on its surface. You smell it before peeling. You peel it slowly, hearing the sound, seeing the spray of oils in the air. When you put a section in your mouth, you taste it fully, noticing the burst of flavor, the sweetness, the texture. One orange becomes a meditation, a moment of full presence. What if you approached meals with your loved ones this way? Not necessarily in silence, but with awareness, tasting your food, seeing the person across from you, hearing their voice as if for the first time, making the meal itself an offering of presence. Not something to get through to reach the next thing, but a moment to be fully alive. Mindfulness in relationships also means being present with difficult emotions when they arise. When anger surfaces, instead of immediately reacting, you take a breath. You notice the anger. Where do you feel it in your body? What thoughts are driving it? You create a tiny space between the stimulus and your response. In that space, choice becomes possible. You might still choose to express your anger, but mindfully, skillfully, rather than dumping it on someone in unconscious reaction. A man told me about learning this practice. His wife said something that would have normally triggered a huge fight. But he had been practicing mindfulness. The anger arose, hot and familiar. But instead of lashing out, he said, "I need a moment." He went outside, breathed, felt the anger in his body, watched the thoughts swirling in his mind. After 5 minutes, the intensity had passed. He could return and say, "When you said that, I felt hurt. Can we talk about it?" The conversation that followed actually led to deeper understanding instead of escalating conflict. This is the power of mindfulness. It gives you back your agency. You're no longer at the mercy of your reactions. There's a space between what happens and how you respond. And in that space lives your freedom. Your relationship stops being a series of unconscious reactions and becomes a practice of conscious engagement. Mindfulness also helps us notice the good. We're wired to focus on problems, on what's wrong, on what needs fixing. This served our ancestors well in dangerous environments. But in relationships, this negativity bias means we overlook hundreds of small kindnesses while fixating on single mistakes. Mindfulness training involves deliberately noticing positive moments. Your partner makes you coffee. They ask about your day. They laugh at your joke. They reach for your hand. Each of these is a gift, and mindfulness helps you receive it. There's a practice called the gratitude visit. You take time to notice something your partner did that you appreciate. Then you tell them, specifically and sincerely, not "you're great," but "when you made dinner tonight after your long day, I felt so cared for." This kind of specific appreciation, offered regularly, transforms relationships. People feel seen for their efforts. They're encouraged to continue showing up. Love grows not only from grand gestures, but from consistent acknowledgement of small kindnesses. In the Buddhist tradition, there's a practice of mindful walking. Each step is taken with full awareness, feeling your foot contact the earth, noticing the sensations of movement, staying present with the simple act of walking. What if you brought this quality to walking with your partner? Not striding ahead, lost in thought, but walking side by side at the same pace, present with each other and with the world around you. Such a simple thing. Yet it becomes a meditation on togetherness, on moving through life in sync. Mindfulness reveals that every moment with our loved ones is precious simply because it won't last forever. This realization doesn't make us sad. It makes us present. When you truly understand that this person you're sitting with could be gone tomorrow, that this conversation might be the last, how does it change how you show up? Do you half listen while checking email? Do you let petty irritations overshadow the miracle of connection? Or do you drink in their presence, like someone dying of thirst? This isn't morbid. It's realistic. The Buddha taught that reflecting on impermanence isn't meant to depress us, but to wake us up. Right now, in this moment, this person is here. This moment is happening. And you can be fully present for it, or you can miss it, while your mind is somewhere else. The choice, moment by moment, is yours. As you lie here, consider your relationships. Where have you been absent? Not gone, but not really there either. Where could you offer more presence? Not more time necessarily, but more quality of attention in the time you do spend together. What would it be like to look at your beloved tomorrow morning as if seeing them for the first time? To really see them, not your projection or expectation, but the actual person standing before you. Mindfulness in relationships is finally about this: showing up, being there, not perfectly, not without distraction, but with the intention to return when you notice you've drifted, again and again, coming back to this moment, this person, this life you're sharing. In that returning, in that choice to be present, love becomes not just a feeling, but a practice, not just an emotion, but a way of being. And that, more than any grand romantic gesture, is what sustains love through all the seasons of a life together. Right speech, the language of love words, are more powerful than we realize. The Buddha knew this 2,500 years ago, which is why right speech is one of the 8 elements of the path to liberation. In relationships, words can heal or harm, build trust or destroy it, create connection or sever it. Yet we often speak carelessly, reactively, letting whatever arises in our mind tumble out our mouth without consideration. Then we wonder why our relationships are full of misunderstanding and hurt. Right speech in the Buddhist tradition has 4 components. First, abstaining from false speech. This means more than not lying. It means speaking truthfully, honestly, from a place of integrity. In relationships, we sometimes lie to avoid conflict, to protect ourselves, to maintain peace. These small deceptions accumulate. They create a subtle distance, a sense that something isn't quite authentic. Your partner might not consciously know you're being dishonest, but they'll feel it. Trust erodes in tiny increments. Speaking truthfully doesn't mean brutal honesty, with no regard for impact. It means finding the balance between honesty and kindness. Sometimes the most honest thing you can say is, "I'm feeling overwhelmed right now and can't discuss this clearly. Can we talk about it tomorrow?" That's truth. You're not lying about being fine when you're not. You're not attacking in anger. You're honestly stating your capacity in the moment. A woman shared about transforming her marriage through this practice. She and her husband had developed a pattern of little white lies. "I'm fine," when she wasn't. "That doesn't bother me," when it did. "I don't mind," when she very much minded. She thought she was being accommodating, preventing conflict. But resentment was building. When she began practicing rigorous honesty, skillfully expressed, everything shifted. "Actually, I'm not fine. I'm hurt by what you said earlier. That does bother me, and I'd like to talk about it. I do mind, but I'm willing to compromise if we can find a solution that works for both of us." At first, her husband was defensive. He wasn't used to this directness. But as she persisted, speaking truthfully, but without blame, he began to trust her. When she said she was fine, he knew she actually was fine. When she agreed to something, He knew she genuinely agreed. Their communication became clean, clear. The constant low-level tension of unspoken resentment dissolved. The second component of right speech is abstaining from divisive speech. This means not speaking in ways that create separation, not gossiping, not taking sides against someone, not manipulating people against each other. In relationships, this often shows up as triangulation. Instead of talking directly to your partner about an issue, you complain to your friends, your family, even your kids. This splits the energy of the relationship, bringing third parties into something that should be handled between the two of you. There's a practice of speaking only what brings people together. When you're upset with your partner, instead of running to your best friend to vent about all their faults, you sit with it. You feel it. You wait until you've calmed down enough to speak directly to the person involved. This doesn't mean you can't have confidants, but there's a difference between processing your feelings to gain clarity before a difficult conversation and gossiping to build your case against someone. The Buddha also taught about not engaging in harsh speech, the third component. This means abstaining from speaking in ways that are cruel, insulting, or meant to hurt. In the heat of conflict, words become weapons. We know exactly what will wound most deeply. We've collected data over years of intimacy, learning our partner's vulnerable spots. Then, in anger, we strike precisely there. You're just like your father. I should never have married you. You're pathetic. These words, once spoken, can never be taken back. They leave wounds that may never fully heal. The practice is cultivating patience. When anger arises and you want to lash out, you pause. You breathe. You feel the anger in your body instead of immediately expressing it. This doesn't mean suppressing it. It means giving yourself space between the impulse and the action. From that space, you might choose to express your anger, but you do it differently. Not, "You're so selfish," but "I'm feeling really angry right now because I needed your help and you weren't there." See the difference? The second expresses the anger, but doesn't attack the person. There's a guideline in Buddhist teaching for when to speak difficult truths. The Buddha said speech should be timely, true, gentle, beneficial, and spoken with goodwill. All five. Not just true, but also timely, gentle, beneficial, and rooted in care. This means if your partner just received devastating news, it's probably not the time to bring up your complaint about them leaving dishes in the sink. It's true, but not timely. Or if you're seething with anger, wait until you can speak with genuine goodwill rather than from a place of wanting to punish. The fourth component is abstaining from idle chatter. This refers to speech that serves no purpose, that fills space without adding anything of value. In our modern age, this has expanded to include the endless consumption of meaningless content, the scrolling and clicking that fills our minds with noise. In relationships, idle chatter might look like surface-level conversation that never goes deeper. You talk about weather, errands, TV shows, but never about what you're actually feeling, what you're struggling with, what matters to you. The practice here is to make your words count. Don't chatter to fill silence. Silence between people who love each other can be comfortable, intimate even. You don't have to entertain each other constantly. When you do speak, make it meaningful. Share something real. Ask a question that goes beneath the surface. What was the best part of your day? What's been on your mind lately? Is there anything you need from me right now? These questions invite authentic sharing rather than automatic responses. There's a beautiful teaching in Buddhism about speech being like a treasure. You don't scatter treasure carelessly. You place it precisely where it will have value. Every word you speak is either building up or tearing down, creating connection or distance, healing or harming. There's no neutral. Even silence communicates. The practice is becoming so conscious of this power that you begin to speak with real intention. Modern teachers have integrated Buddhist right speech with approaches like nonviolent communication, developed by Marshall Rosenberg. This method teaches us to express observations without judgment, to identify and express our feelings, to connect those feelings to our needs, and to make clear requests. It sounds mechanical at first, but it becomes a powerful tool for transforming communication. For example, instead of, "You never help with housework," you might say, "I notice the dishes have been piling up." Observation, "And I'm feeling overwhelmed." Feeling, "Because I need more support to keep our home comfortable." Need, "Would you be willing to do the dishes after dinner each night?" Request. The shift from accusation to vulnerable sharing of needs changes the entire dynamic of the conversation. Right speech also includes deep listening, which we touched on earlier. The Buddha taught that we should listen the way we'd want to be listened to, with full attention and without planning our response. There's a practice in some Buddhist communities called counsel, where people sit in circle and pass a talking stick. Only the person holding the stick speaks. Everyone else listens. No crosstalk, no advice giving, no fixing. Just deep, respectful listening. The person speaking often accesses deeper truths than they knew they had, simply from being heard without interruption or judgment. Try this with your partner. Set aside 20 minutes. One person speaks for 10 minutes without interruption. The listener's job is only to listen, to be fully present, to receive what's being said, without formulating responses. Then you switch. You'd be amazed how different this feels from normal conversation, where people talk over each other, interrupt, and wait for their turn to speak. Being truly heard is a profound gift. Right speech also means knowing when silence is the wisest choice. There's a saying, if you can't improve on silence, don't speak. Sometimes the most loving response is no response. Your partner is venting about a hard day. They don't need you to fix it or give advice. They need you to listen. Or maybe they've made a mistake and are beating themselves up about it. They don't need you to pile on with more criticism. They need compassion. Or maybe you're angry, but not yet calm enough to speak skillfully. Better to say, "I need time to process this before we talk," than to spew words you'll regret. In conflict, which is inevitable in any relationship, right speech becomes critical. There's a Buddhist practice for handling disputes in community. Before speaking in anger to someone, you take 3 breaths. In the first breath, you feel your anger. In the second, you remember something you appreciate about the person. In the third, you remember that both of you just want to be happy and avoid suffering. Only then do you speak. Imagine if every couple practiced this before fights. Right speech is ultimately about using words to reduce suffering, rather than increase it. Every time you speak, you have a choice. Will these words create more understanding or more confusion? More trust or more fear? More closeness or more distance? This doesn't mean being fake or suppressing authentic expression. It means pausing long enough to choose how you express what's true for you. There's a story of a couple who almost divorced. They couldn't talk to each other without fighting. In therapy, they learned one simple rule. Before responding to what your partner says, repeat back to them what you heard. Not to be patronizing, but to ensure you actually understood. They were shocked to discover how often they had misunderstood each other. She would say something, and he would hear something completely different. Then he'd respond to what he thought she said, and she'd get defensive because that wasn't what she meant at all. The cycle would escalate. Just the practice of checking, "Is this what you mean?" before responding changed everything. As you reflect on your relationships, notice your speech patterns. Are you truthful but kind? Do you gossip about your partner to others? Do you use words as weapons when you're hurt? Do you engage in service chatter while avoiding deeper truth? Do you listen deeply or just wait to speak? These aren't questions for judgment, but for awareness. Once you see your patterns clearly, you can begin to change them. Right speech is a lifelong practice. You'll mess up. You'll say things you regret. We all do. The practice includes cleaning up our messes, apologizing genuinely. "I'm sorry I spoke to you that way. That wasn't okay." No excuses, no justifications, just acknowledgement and amends. This too is right speech, taking responsibility for the impact of our words. Tonight, as you rest in this moment, let your mind settle on the power you hold in your speech. Every word is a seed. What are you planting? Are you cultivating a garden of trust and understanding, or a wilderness of confusion and hurt? The choice, word by word, conversation by conversation, is yours. And in that choice lies the power to transform your relationships from battlegrounds into sanctuaries, from places of wounding into spaces of healing. May your words be medicine. May your silence be wisdom. May your speech serve love, compassion. Karuna in the heart, Karuna, the Sanskrit word for compassion, literally means the trembling of the heart in response to suffering. Not pity, which looks down. Not empathy alone, which feels with. But compassion, which moves us to action. When you see someone suffering, your heart trembles. You can't remain unmoved. Something in you reaches out, wants to help, wants to ease the pain. This is Karuna, and it's essential to Buddhist love. The Buddha taught compassion as one of the 4 divine abodes, along with loving kindness, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. These 4 together create a complete practice of the heart. Loving kindness wishes for happiness. Compassion wishes for the end of suffering. Sympathetic joy delights in others' happiness. Equanimity holds it all with balance. Together, they transform how we relate to everyone, especially those closest to us. But compassion in relationships is tricky. We want to fix our partner's pain. We want to take it away. When they're struggling, we often feel helpless, frustrated, even angry at our inability to make it better. This isn't quite compassion yet. This is our discomfort with their discomfort. We want them to stop suffering, partly because their suffering makes us uncomfortable. True compassion can be present with suffering, without needing to immediately change it. Think about the last time your partner was really struggling with something. Maybe they lost their job, or a parent died, or they were dealing with depression. How did you respond? Many of us try to fix it. We offer solutions, advice, encouragement. It will be okay. Look on the bright side. At least. But often what the suffering person needs most is simply to be seen in their pain, to not have to pretend everything's fine, to have someone sit with them in the darkness without trying to turn on all the lights. There's a practice in Tibetan Buddhism called Tonglen, which means sending and receiving. It's a compassion meditation that flips our usual instinct. Normally, when we encounter suffering, our own or others, we want to push it away. We want to inhale what's pleasant and exhale what's painful. Tonglen reverses this. You breathe in the suffering, taking it fully into your heart. Then you breathe out relief, comfort, whatever the suffering being needs. You're training your heart to move toward pain instead of away from it. Here's how it works in practice. Visualize someone you care about who's suffering. See them clearly. Now, as you breathe in, imagine breathing in their pain as dark smoke. It enters your heart, where it meets your natural compassion and dissolves. Then breathe out relief, light, whatever they need, sending it to them. You're not actually taking on their suffering in a literal sense. You're training yourself to be willing to be with suffering, to not push it away. At first, this practice feels counterintuitive, even scary. Won't breathing in pain make me depressed? But practitioners find the opposite. By deliberately moving towards suffering instead of running from it, they develop incredible courage and resilience. The suffering they breathe in doesn't stick. It's transformed by their compassion. And the practice opens their heart in ways that make them available to truly help others. In relationships, compassion means showing up for the hard stuff. Your partner loses their temper, says something hurtful. Instead of immediately retaliating, you pause. You remember that hurt people hurt people. You wonder what pain might be underneath their anger. This doesn't mean accepting abuse, but it means responding to the pain underneath the behavior, rather than just reacting to the behavior itself. There's a distinction the Buddha made between compassion and its near enemy, which is pity or overwhelming grief. The near enemy looks like compassion, but actually isn't helpful. Pity maintains separation, sees the other as less than. Overwhelming grief means we're drowning in the other's pain, unable to help because we're immobilized. True compassion is warm, but not overwhelming, engaged, but not enmeshed. It feels the other's pain without becoming lost in it. A woman told me about learning this with her mother, who had Alzheimer's. At first, visiting her mother was agonizing. She'd leave in tears every time, devastated by her mother's decline. She couldn't be present because her own grief was so intense. Through compassion practice, she learned to hold her grief while also staying present with her mother. She could feel the sadness without being consumed by it. She could be there, fully offering whatever comfort was possible in each moment. The disease didn't change, but her ability to respond to it with compassion made all the difference. Compassion in relationships also means having compassion for yourself. This is often harder than having compassion for others. We're harsh with ourselves in ways we'd never be with people we love. We make a mistake and beat ourselves up for days. We fall short of our ideals and punish ourselves with cruel self-talk. But if you can't offer yourself compassion, you'll have little to offer others. The well runs dry. The practice of self-compassion involves treating yourself as you would a dear friend. When you mess up, instead of the inner critic screaming, "You're such an idiot," you pause. You place your hand on your heart. You speak to yourself kindly. "This is hard. I'm struggling. But I'm doing my best." This isn't self-indulgence or making excuses. It's acknowledging your humanity, your limitations, your suffering. From that place of self-compassion, you can actually learn and grow. Self-criticism just makes you defensive and stuck. In relationships, when you've hurt your partner, self-compassion helps you apologize authentically. If you're drowning in shame, you can't really see the other person's pain. You're too caught up in feeling terrible about yourself. But with self-compassion, you can acknowledge, I made a mistake, I caused harm, and I'm still worthy of love, while also truly seeing and caring about how your actions affected your partner. This allows for real repair instead of defensiveness or wallowing. The Buddha taught that compassion and wisdom are inseparable. Compassion without wisdom can be misguided, enabling harmful behavior, sacrificing yourself unnecessarily. Wisdom without compassion is cold, detached, unfeeling. Together, they create wise compassion that can see clearly and respond appropriately. In relationships, this means knowing when compassion looks like staying and when it looks like leaving, when it means offering comfort and when it means offering challenge, when it means doing for someone and when it means letting them handle it themselves. There's a story of parents whose adult son was addicted to drugs. They kept bailing him out, giving him money, letting him move home. They thought this was compassion. But a wise teacher helped them see they were actually enabling his destruction. True compassion, in this case, meant setting firm boundaries, saying no to his requests for money, allowing him to experience the consequences of his choices. It was agonizing. Every part of them wanted to rescue him, but they loved him enough to let him find his own bottom and climb out himself. Eventually he did. Years later, he thanked them. Their willingness to let him suffer was the most compassionate thing they could have done. This is the hardest lesson in compassion. Sometimes love means not fixing, not rescuing, not saving someone from their own choices. It means trusting them to find their way, even when that way is painful to watch. It means believing in their capacity to handle what life brings them, even when you desperately want to make it easier. This kind of compassion requires tremendous courage. In daily life with your partner, compassion shows up in small moments. They're running late and stressed. You don't add to their stress with criticism. You offer help, or at minimum, patience. They're being difficult, snappy, withdrawn. Instead of taking it personally, you inquire with gentle curiosity. You seem like you're having a hard time. Want to talk about it. They make the same mistake they've made before. Instead of exasperation, you remember how hard it is to change patterns, how often you repeat your own mistakes. You offer encouragement rather than judgment. Compassion is also present in how you handle your partner's flaws and limitations. Everyone comes with rough edges, irritating habits, areas where they just don't see things clearly. Compassion doesn't ignore these or pretend they don't exist. It sees them clearly, but holds them gently, with understanding that everyone is doing their best with the conditioning they received, the wounds they carry, the capacity they have. Your partner isn't perfectly evolved. Neither are you. Compassion for this mutual humanity creates space for both of you to be imperfect and still worthy of love. The Dalai Lama often says that if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy yourself, practice compassion. It's not a zero-sum game where compassion for others depletes your own well-being. Actually, the opposite is true. When you practice compassion, your own heart opens. You feel more connected, more purposeful, more alive. Research shows that compassion practices increase well-being, decrease depression and anxiety, and even improve physical health. In relationships, regular compassion practice transforms the atmosphere. Instead of two people defending their positions, you have two people trying to understand each other's suffering and help where possible. Instead of keeping score of who's right and who's wrong, you're both on the same team, working together against suffering. This doesn't eliminate conflict, but it changes the context. You're not enemies, you're allies. Try this practice tonight. Think of your partner. Imagine them sitting in front of you. See their face. Really look at them in your mind's eye. Now reflect. This person, like me, wants to be happy. This person, like me, wants to avoid suffering. This person, like me, is struggling to figure out how to live, how to love, how to be. Let that recognition soften your heart. Then say, either silently or aloud, "May you be free from suffering. May you be at peace." Feel what happens in your heart when you offer this wish. Feel the expansion, the opening, the warmth. As you rest here, breathing quietly, know that compassion is your nature. You don't have to create it from nothing. It's already there, like water beneath rock. Your practice is simply removing the obstacles that block its flow. The resentment, the judgments, the hardness born of past hurt. Beneath all that, compassion is waiting, ready to flow toward all beings, including yourself, including those you love most, including even those who challenge you. Your heart knows how to do this. It's been doing it all along. You're just learning to let it flow more freely, more consistently, more courageously. And in that flow, you'll find not only your own healing, but the healing of your relationships, the healing of everything you touch. Forgiveness and letting go. 10 years into her meditation practice, a woman experienced a moment she'll never forget. For the first time in her life, she felt completely free of resentment toward anyone living or dead. No grudges, no holding on to old hurts, no rehearsing past wrongs. The spaciousness in her heart was extraordinary. But almost immediately, she made a mistake in understanding. She thought this feeling would last forever. She thought she'd finally arrived at permanent forgiveness. Of course, it didn't last. Within days, a new slight occurred, and familiar resentment arose. She felt like she'd failed, but she hadn't failed. She'd simply misunderstood impermanence. Forgiveness isn't a destination you reach once and remain at forever. It's a moment-by-moment practice of letting go. We forgive, then we need to forgive again. We release, then we need to release again. This isn't a failure of the practice. It's the practice. Understanding this is liberating because it means you can stop judging yourself for not achieving perfect forgiveness. You can simply practice letting go again and again in each new moment. The Buddha never used the word forgiveness in quite the way we understand it. But the teachings on letting go of resentment, releasing hatred, and moving forward without being bound to the past run through all of Buddhism. There's a famous saying from the Dhammapada: "Hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love alone is healed." This is the Buddhist approach to forgiveness in a nutshell. We don't forgive because the person deserves it, or because what they did was okay. We forgive because holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. Let's be clear. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior. It doesn't mean reconciliation is always necessary or wise. It doesn't mean letting someone who hurt you back into your life. It means, as one dictionary defines it, ceasing to feel resentment. That's it. You let go of the burning anger, the constant replaying of what happened, the wish for revenge. You release these things not for the other person's sake, but for your own. Think about a time someone hurt you. Maybe your partner betrayed your trust, or a friend disappointed you, or a family member said something cruel. Notice what happens in your body when you recall the incident. Probably tension arises, maybe in your chest or stomach. Your jaw might tighten. Your breathing might become shallow. This is what resentment does. It lives in your body, creating stress, keeping you in a state of activation, draining your energy. And the person who hurt you, they're probably not thinking about it at all. You're the only one suffering from your resentment. A Tibetan story illustrates this perfectly. Two monks meet after years apart, having both been imprisoned and tortured. "Have you forgiven them?" the first asks. "Never," the second replies fiercely. "I will never forgive them." The first monk shakes his head sadly. "Then they still have you in prison, don't they?" This is the truth. Our unforgiveness doesn't hurt those who harmed us. It keeps us chained to the past, reliving the hurt over and over, unable to move forward. Forgiveness practice in Buddhism often begins with understanding the nature of harm. The Buddha taught that all harmful actions come from ignorance and suffering. No one who is truly at peace creates harm. Happy people don't go around betraying trust or saying cruel things. They act harmfully because they're confused about how to be happy, because they're driven by their own pain, because they haven't learned skillful ways of meeting their needs. This doesn't excuse the behavior, but it depersonalizes it. They didn't harm you because you deserved it. They harmed you because of their own confusion and pain. Understanding this allows you to distinguish between the actor and the action. You can forgive the confused, suffering person while still acknowledging that what they did was harmful and wrong. A woman shared about forgiving her ex-husband who had an affair. For years, she held on to the betrayal, letting it poison every aspect of her life. Through practice, she began to see him not as a villain who maliciously destroyed her life, but as a confused person who made terrible choices driven by his own unhappiness. She could see his humanity while also maintaining the boundary that they couldn't be together. The forgiveness freed her to move forward and eventually find love again. The traditional forgiveness practice has 3 parts. First, asking for forgiveness from those you've harmed. You sit quietly and bring to mind people you've hurt through your actions, words, or thoughts. You say mentally or aloud, "If I have caused you suffering through my actions, words, or thoughts, knowingly or unknowingly, I ask for your forgiveness." You're not reaching out to these people necessarily. You're working with your own heart, releasing the weight of guilt and regret you carry. Second, offering forgiveness to those who have harmed you. You bring to mind people who have hurt you, remembering that they too acted from confusion and pain. You say, "If you have caused me suffering through your actions, words, or thoughts, knowingly or unknowingly, I offer you forgiveness." Notice the resistance that might arise. Part of you might not want to let them off the hook. That's okay. You're not saying what they did was fine. You're just choosing to release the resentment that's hurting you. Third, forgiving yourself. This is often the hardest part. We carry so much shame and self-blame. You bring to mind your own mistakes, your failures, your moments of causing harm. You say, for all the ways I have harmed myself through my actions, words, or thoughts. Knowingly or unknowingly, I offer myself forgiveness. You acknowledge that you too were confused, that you too were suffering, that you too were doing your best with the awareness you had at the time. These practices don't instantly dissolve all resentment. They're seeds you're planting. You might need to repeat them many times. You might feel nothing at first. That's okay. You're training your heart in a new direction. Over time, with patient repetition, something shifts. The resentment loosens its grip. You notice you're not thinking about the hurt as much. When you do remember it, there's less charge. Eventually, you might feel genuine compassion for the person who hurt you, seeing them as the suffering being they are. Forgiveness in relationships is ongoing. Your partner will hurt you. It might be unintentional, a thoughtless word, or a forgotten promise. It might be larger, a breach of trust, or moments of real cruelty. You can choose to hold on to each hurt, building a case against them, collecting evidence of their unworthiness. Or you can practice letting go, releasing each hurt as it arises, returning again and again to love. This doesn't make you a doormat. If there's a pattern of harm, you address it, set boundaries, potentially leave if necessary. But you do this from clarity, not from accumulated resentment. There's a crucial distinction between forgiveness and forgetting. Forgiveness means releasing resentment. Forgetting means the incident disappears from memory as if it never happened. Buddhism doesn't ask you to forget. In fact, remembering is important because it helps you make wise decisions about how to engage with someone going forward. If someone has repeatedly betrayed your trust, forgiveness means you're not consumed with anger about it. But wisdom means you don't keep trusting them with vulnerable information. You can forgive and still maintain boundaries. A practice that helps with forgiveness is what's called taking the other perspective. You literally try to see the situation from the other person's point of view. What were they feeling? What needs were they trying to meet? What fears or pains might have been driving their behavior? This doesn't justify what they did, but it humanizes them. They move from being a villain to being a complex human being who made mistakes, just like you have. This shift in perspective softens resentment naturally. Some hurts feel unforgivable. Abuse, betrayal, violations that change the trajectory of your life. Buddhism doesn't minimize these. It acknowledges that some wounds are deep, that healing takes time, that you might need professional support. But even with the deepest wounds, holding on to hatred hurts you more than it hurts the person who harmed you. You might need years to work toward forgiveness. You might need to forgive in layers, releasing bits of resentment as you're able. There's no timeline, but the direction is always toward letting go, because that's the direction of your freedom. Forgiveness also includes forgiving life itself sometimes. You might carry resentment about your circumstances, the hand you were dealt, the losses you've suffered. Why did this happen to me? Buddhism would say, because conditions came together for it to happen. Not as punishment, not as some cosmic judgment of your worth, but simply because this is the nature of existence. Things arise and pass away. Sometimes what arises is painful. Can you make peace with that? Can you let go of arguing with reality, the constant, this shouldn't have happened, and instead meet what is with acceptance? A man shared about forgiving his parents. They'd been neglectful, at times abusive. For decades, he carried rage about his childhood. But through practice, he began to see them differently. They were two young people with their own trauma, their own limitations, doing the best they could with no models of good parenting. They'd harmed him, yes, but they'd also been harmed. His forgiveness didn't mean what they did was okay. It meant he was choosing to stop letting their dysfunction define his life. He could see them as whole, complex people, rather than just through the lens of how they'd failed him. This shift freed him to build a different life than they had, to parent his own children differently, to break the cycle. As you lie here breathing, consider, what are you still holding on to? What old hurt are you replaying in your mind? What resentment is taking up space in your heart that could be filled with something else? You don't have to let it all go right now. But maybe you could release just a little bit. Maybe you could loosen your grip just slightly, creating a tiny bit of space. That's all forgiveness asks. Not a sudden, complete release, but a gentle, gradual loosening. Again and again, moment by moment, breath by breath, you practice this letting go. And slowly, so slowly you might not even notice, your heart becomes lighter. The burden you've been carrying gets a little easier. And one day, you might realize you've been free for a while now. Free to live in the present, rather than imprisoned by the past. This is the gift forgiveness offers. Not for them. For you. Equanimity, the balance of love. Imagine standing on a cliff edge in a storm. Wind whips around you. Rain pelts down. Lightning cracks the sky. But you remain steady, grounded, unmoved. You're not numb to the storm. You feel it fully. You're simply not swept away by it. This is equanimity, the fourth of the divine abodes, and perhaps the most misunderstood quality in Buddhist practice. The Pali word is upekkha, which means to look over, or to stand in the middle. It refers to a profound evenness of mind that isn't disturbed by the ups and downs of life. Not indifference, not detachment in the sense of not caring, but a deep inner stability that remains present and engaged while not being thrown off balance by circumstances or emotions. In relationships, equanimity is crucial, but easily misunderstood. It doesn't mean you stop caring whether your partner is happy or sad. It doesn't mean emotional flatness or resigned acceptance of whatever happens. It means you can stay present and loving through all the changes, without your own inner peace completely depending on your partner's state. You're affected, yes, but not destroyed. You're responsive, but not reactive. You care deeply while also maintaining your center. The Buddha described equanimity as abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. This isn't cold or aloof. It's warm, spacious, fundamentally kind. But it's not blown around by every wind that comes. When your partner is upset, you can be present with their upset, without becoming equally upset yourself. When they're anxious, you can offer steady presence, rather than adding your anxiety to theirs. This steadiness itself becomes a gift, a ballast that helps stabilize the whole system. Think about the 8 worldly conditions the Buddha taught. Praise and blame, success and failure, pleasure and pain, gain and loss. Life continuously cycles through these. In relationships, this cycle is intensified. Your partner praises you one day, criticizes you the next. Things go well, then they don't. You feel close, then distant. The practice of equanimity means not being completely elated when things are good, or completely devastated when things are hard. You accept both as part of the natural flow of a relationship. This doesn't mean you don't have preferences, or that you don't work toward positive outcomes. Of course you prefer when things are going well. Of course you work to create more harmony and less conflict. But you're not attached to outcomes in a way that makes your well-being completely dependent on them. There's a story of a monk who maintains perfect equanimity, whether people honor him or insult him, whether he receives abundant offerings or nothing at all. He's described as having a mind like the earth, which receives all things equally, without preference or aversion. In relationships, developing this quality means recognizing that your partner is on their own journey. They have their own karma, their own lessons to learn, their own path to walk. You can love them, support them, show up for them, but ultimately their life is theirs. You can't control their choices, protect them from all pain, or make their path smooth. Equanimity is recognizing this truth and finding peace in it, rather than constantly struggling against it. A woman described how learning equanimity saved her relationship. Her husband struggled with depression. For years, she made his mood her responsibility. If he was depressed, she felt she'd failed. She'd try everything to cheer him up, getting increasingly frustrated and resentful when nothing worked. Their relationship was becoming toxic. Through practice, she learned equanimity. She could be compassionate toward his suffering without making it her job to fix it. She could support him without taking on the weight of his depression. She could maintain her own well-being, even when he wasn't well. This wasn't abandonment. It was healthy differentiation that ultimately helped both of them. Equanimity also helps with the inevitable disappointments in relationships. Your partner won't always meet your expectations. They'll forget your birthday, or miss the point of your story, or not notice your new haircut. With equanimity, these minor letdowns don't become major dramas. You see them for what they are, small human moments of imperfection. You're disappointed, yes, but not destroyed. You can communicate about what you need without making it a referendum on the relationship. The practice of equanimity begins with mindfulness. You notice when you're getting swept away by emotion, when you're losing your center, when you're over-identifying with circumstances. Just that noticing creates space. Then you can remind yourself, this too is impermanent. This feeling will pass. I don't need to act on this right now. You breathe, you ground, you return to your center. Equanimity is cultivated formally through meditation. You practice wishing all beings well, while also recognizing that each being is the heir of their own karma. All beings are owners of their karma, heir to their karma, born of their karma, related through their karma, and have their karma as their refuge. Whatever they do, for good or for evil, to that they will fall heir. This reflection helps you maintain appropriate boundaries. You care about others, but you recognize you can't ultimately protect them from the consequences of their actions, or from the basic fact of being human in this uncertain world. In relationships, this translates to something like, I love you completely, and I can't control your life. I'll support you in whatever ways I can, and ultimately, your happiness is your responsibility. This isn't cold. It's realistic. It's respecting the other person's autonomy and capacity. It's refusing to take on a burden that was never meant to be yours. Equanimity isn't the same as suppression. You're not pushing down emotions or pretending you don't care. You feel fully, you care deeply, but you don't lose yourself in the feeling. There's a spaciousness that holds the emotion without being consumed by it. Think of the sky holding clouds. The clouds pass through, Sometimes dark storm clouds, sometimes light fluffy ones. But the sky remains vast and unchanged. Your equanimity is like that sky. This quality also helps during conflicts. When you're fighting with your partner, equanimity allows you to stay engaged without escalating. You can hear their angry words without immediately counterattacking. You can feel your own anger without letting it drive your behavior. There's a pause, a breath of space between stimulus and response. And in that space, you can choose how to proceed. This doesn't mean you become a doormat or accept mistreatment. It means you respond from wisdom rather than pure reactivity. The near enemy of equanimity is indifference. It looks similar from outside, someone appearing unmoved by circumstances. But indifference doesn't care. It's checked out, disconnected, numb. Equanimity is fully present and caring while maintaining inner stability. The far enemy is anxiety, being constantly pulled this way and that by every change in circumstances. Equanimity is the middle way between these extremes. Developing equanimity requires practice, especially in intimate relationships where we're most vulnerable. Start small. When your partner is in a bad mood, practice not taking it personally. Notice your tendency to think, "What did I do?" or "How can I fix this?" Instead, just be present. "You seem to be having a hard time. I'm here if you need anything." You're caring without taking on responsibility for their emotional state. Practice also with your own emotions. When you're angry or hurt or anxious, instead of immediately acting on the feeling or trying to make it go away, just sit with it. This is anger. Anger feels like this in my body. Anger brings these thoughts. Anger is impermanent, like everything else. You're not suppressing it or expressing it uncontrollably. You're holding it with awareness until you can respond skillfully. There's a beautiful teaching that equanimity perfects the other three divine abodes. Loving kindness without equanimity becomes attachment. Compassion without equanimity becomes overwhelming grief. Sympathetic joy without equanimity becomes comparison and envy. But when balanced by equanimity, each quality matures into its fullest expression. You can love without clinging, feel compassion without drowning, celebrate others' joy without wishing it were yours. In the deepest sense, equanimity comes from understanding the nature of reality. Everything is impermanent, including relationships. Everything is interdependent, including your well-being and your partner's. And everything is empty of inherent permanent self. When you truly understand these truths, not just intellectually, but in your bones, you relax. You stop fighting the way things are. You stop demanding that life conform to your preferences. You meet each moment as it is, with an open heart and a steady mind. As you lie here, feel into this quality of equanimity. Can you find a place of stillness beneath the movement of your thoughts and emotions? Can you touch a quality of presence that isn't thrown off by whatever arises? This isn't far away or hard to reach. It's here, now, always available, like the steady ground beneath your feet when storms come in your relationship. And they will, you can return to this ground. When your partner is struggling, when you're fighting, when everything feels uncertain, you can return to this steadiness. Not as escape, but as resource. Not as indifference, but a stable, loving presence. This is equanimity. This is the balance that allows love to weather all seasons. Interdependence. We are all connected. There's a teaching in Buddhism that cuts through our illusion of separateness so completely. It can transform how we understand every relationship. It's called pratitya samutpada in Sanskrit, or dependent origination. The Buddha considered it so important that he said, "One who sees dependent origination sees the Dharma. One who sees the Dharma sees the Buddha." What does this have to do with love? Everything. Dependent origination teaches that nothing exists independently. Everything arises in dependence on causes and conditions. You exist because your parents existed, because they ate food, breathed air, lived on a planet with the right conditions for life. They existed because their parents existed, going back and back, connecting you to every human who ever lived, and ultimately to the first stirrings of life itself. You depend on farmers who grow food, on people who maintain infrastructure, on countless beings whose labor makes your life possible. Nothing about you exists in isolation. The same is true for your relationships. Your relationship with your partner doesn't exist independently of everything else. It arises from conditions, your individual histories, your families of origin, your cultures, your shared experiences, even your biochemistry and brain chemistry in any given moment. When you understand this deeply, you stop seeing your partner as the sole cause of your happiness or unhappiness. You see the vast web of conditions creating each moment of connection or disconnection. The Buddha used a beautiful image to express this. He compared reality to Indra's net, an infinite net of jewels where each jewel reflects all the others. Change one jewel, and you change every reflection in every other jewel throughout the entire net. This is how intimately connected we all are. What you do affects your partner, which affects their colleagues, their family, their friends, rippling outward. What they do affects you, rippling through your entire life. We're not separate entities colliding. We're nodes in an infinite web, each one necessary, each one reflecting all the others. Think about a simple interaction. Your partner comes home tired and irritable after a hard day at work. They snap at you about something minor. How did this moment arise? Their boss was stressed about the company's financial situation and took it out on them. The boss is stressed because of economic conditions created by countless factors. You're sensitive to being snapped at because of how your parents spoke to you as a child. Your reaction to your partner's irritation will affect how the evening unfolds, which might affect their sleep, which might affect their work tomorrow, which might affect their boss's mood, on and on. This isn't chaos. It's the lawfulness of dependent arising. Everything affects everything. Understanding this has profound implications for how we relate. First, it helps us take things less personally. Your partner's bad mood isn't really about you, even if they're directing it at you. It arose from countless conditions, most of which have nothing to do with you. This doesn't mean you accept poor treatment, but you can see it in context, responding with wisdom rather than taking it as a personal attack. Second, it makes us more careful with our actions. Everything you do matters because everything affects the web. When you speak harshly, you're not just affecting that moment. You're planting seeds that'll flower into future moments. When you speak kindly, same thing. Every act of patience, every gesture of care, every moment of genuine presence sends ripples through the web of relationship, creating conditions for more of the same. Third, understanding interdependence helps us see that our well-being and our partner's well-being aren't separate. What hurts them hurts the whole system, including you. What helps them helps the whole system, including you. This isn't about self-sacrifice. It's about recognizing that there's no clear line between your welfare and theirs. You're both nodes in the same web, each affected by the other's state. The Buddha taught 12 links of dependent origination that explain how suffering arises and perpetuates. It's complex, but the basic principle is simple. Each link depends on the previous one. Ignorance leads to formations, which lead to consciousness, which leads to name and form, and so on, eventually leading to birth, aging, and death. The cycle continues unless we break one of the links through wisdom and practice. In relationships, we can see similar cycles. A moment of hurt leads to withdrawal, which leads to misunderstanding, which leads to more hurt, round and round. But here's the liberating part. Because everything arises from conditions. When conditions change, outcomes change. Your relationship isn't fixed or doomed. It's a process, constantly becoming. Every moment is an opportunity to change conditions, to plant different seeds, to send different ripples through the web. You can't control your partner, but you can change your own actions, and those changes affect the whole system. A couple on the verge of divorce started practicing this understanding. Instead of seeing each other as enemies, they began to see themselves as part of one system that was suffering. When one person changed how they showed up, the whole system shifted. She started responding to his defensiveness with curiosity instead of attack. This created space for him to soften. His softening made her feel safer. Her safety allowed her to be more vulnerable. His vulnerability brought them closer. None of this was one person fixing the other. It was recognizing their profound interdependence and working with the system they created together. Dependent origination also explains why relationships require ongoing care. They're not static things you create once and then possess. They're processes, constantly arising from moment-to-moment conditions. Like a fire needs fuel to continue burning, relationships need continuous tending. Each kind word, each moment of attention, each act of service is fuel. Let the fuel run out, and the fire dies. Understanding this helps us stay engaged, keeps us from taking the relationship for granted. This teaching connects to the Buddhist concept of no self. If everything arises dependently, where is the independent, unchanging self? There isn't one. What we call self is a collection of processes arising from conditions. The same is true for relationships. What we call our relationship is a collection of processes, constantly changing based on conditions. This can feel unsettling at first, like losing our footing. But it's actually liberating. If the relationship is a process, not a thing, then it can always change, always become something new. Understanding interdependence also cultivates gratitude. You begin to see how much you depend on your partner in ways both obvious and subtle. They contribute to the conditions that make your life possible. They provide emotional support that helps you function. They challenge you in ways that help you grow. They reflect back to you who you are. Without them, you would be different. Your life would be different. Everything would be different. This recognition naturally evokes appreciation. There's a practice from Zen Buddhism called the verse of the Kesa, recited when putting on one's meditation robe. It includes the line, "How great and wondrous are the Buddha's robe of liberation, formless and embracing every treasure." Every object we use, every person we encounter, connects us to the entire universe. Your partner is a treasure arising from billions of years of evolution, from countless conditions coming together to create this one unique being. Can you see them this way? In practical terms, understanding interdependence means recognizing that relationship problems are usually system problems, not individual ones. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with you?" or "What's wrong with me?" you ask, "What conditions are creating difficulty in our system?" Maybe it's lack of sleep. Maybe it's financial stress. Maybe it's unhealed wounds from childhood. Maybe it's mismatched expectations, never clearly discussed. When you address conditions, rather than blaming people, solutions become possible. It also means recognizing that changing yourself is the most effective way to change a relationship. Not because you're responsible for everything, but because you're the point of access you have. You can't directly change your partner, but you can change how you show up. And because you're interdependent, your changes ripple through the system, creating conditions for their changes. This is empowering. You're not helpless, waiting for them to fix things. You have agency in every moment. Finally, understanding interdependence opens us to a profound love. When you really get that you and your partner aren't separate, that you're each part of the other's life in ways so intimate and complex they can't be fully tracked. Something in your heart recognizes its true nature. You're not isolated individuals trying to get needs met from each other. You're one system of care, learning to function with more wisdom and compassion. Your partner's joy becomes your joy because there's no clear line between you. Their suffering becomes something you naturally want to address because it's affecting the whole system you're part of. As you rest here, reflect on this truth. You are not separate from your partner, from your loved ones, from all beings. You exist only in relation, only in connection, only as part of this vast web of interdependence. Your actions matter because they affect everything. Your care matters because it nourishes the web. Your presence matters because it changes the field. You're not an isolated self trying to extract love from another isolated self. You're one thread in Indra's net, reflecting and being reflected by all other threads, each essential, each connected to all. In this recognition, separation dissolves. Loneliness becomes impossible, and love reveals itself as not something we create, but something we discover we've always been part of. This vast web of care that connects all things. Living these teachings daily. Understanding Buddhist teachings about love is one thing. Integrating them into daily life is another entirely. It's easy to feel inspired while reading or listening to these teachings, to have moments of profound insight and connection. But then you wake up the next morning. Your partner forgot to take out the trash again. You're running late for work. The kids are fighting, and all those beautiful teachings seem impossibly distant. This is where practice becomes essential. Not practice as in sitting on a cushion for hours, though that helps. Practice as in applying these teachings to actual moments of daily life. Let's start with morning. The way you begin your day sets the tone for everything that follows. Before you reach for your phone, before you mentally start your to-do list, before you even open your eyes fully, you can practice. Take 3 conscious breaths. With the first, offer gratitude. I'm alive. I have another day. With the second, set intention. May I meet today with wisdom and compassion. With the third, extend loving kindness. May all beings be happy. May I contribute to that happiness today. If you share a bed with your partner, this is a powerful moment. Before you both scatter into your separate days, pause, look at them, really look. Remember everything you learned about Metta, about true presence. You might silently repeat, "May you be happy today. May you be safe. May you find peace." Or you might simply touch them gently, a hand on their shoulder or arm, conveying without words, "I see you. I'm glad you're here." Some couples create a morning ritual, 5 minutes over coffee, where they share one thing they're grateful for and one intention for the day. Nothing complicated, just conscious connection before the day pulls them apart. One couple I know has a practice of kissing goodbye with full attention. Not a perfunctory peck while thinking about other things, but a real kiss, 5 seconds where they're actually present with each other. It seems small, but it keeps them connected throughout the day. As you move through your morning, notice your thoughts about your relationship. Are you rehearsing old arguments, worrying about problems, planning how to get your partner to change? Just notice, without judgment. Then practice releasing, like letting go of a balloon and watching it float away. Return to the present moment. What's actually happening right now? Usually, right now is okay. It's when we leave the present for past or future that suffering multiplies. At work, or wherever you spend your day, the teachings continue to apply. When someone irritates you, remember, like me, this person wants to be happy and avoid suffering. They're doing their best with the conditioning they have. This doesn't mean accepting poor behavior, but it shifts your internal experience from anger to understanding. When you succeed at something, dedicate the merit. May the benefit of this work spread to all beings, including my partner and loved ones. This connects your work to something larger than just personal achievement. During the day, if possible, take a few minutes for formal metta practice. Even just 3 minutes, sitting quietly, directing loving kindness toward yourself, your partner, and all beings. This keeps your heart open, prevents the hardening that can happen when we're stressed and busy. You're maintaining the fire, keeping the flame of loving awareness burning, even through demanding hours. Check in with yourself regularly throughout the day. How am I right now? What am I feeling? What do I need? This self-awareness prevents you from coming home depleted and unconsciously dumping your stress on your partner. If you notice you're stressed, you can do something about it before you get home. Take a brief walk, do some stretches, call a friend. Take responsibility for your own state rather than making your partner responsible for managing it. The transition from work to home is crucial. Many relationship problems stem from poor transitions. You bring work stress home and project it onto your partner. Or you're still mentally at work, even though you're physically home. Create a transition ritual. Some people stop their car before going inside and take 5 conscious breaths, deliberately leaving work behind. Some change clothes immediately upon arriving home, symbolically shedding the work persona and returning to their relational self. Some walk around the block before entering, clearing their mind. When you see your partner after being apart, remember Thich Nhat Hanh's teaching. Darling, I am here for you, and I know you are there, and I am very happy. Actually look at them. Actually see them. It's so easy to just nod and start talking about logistics. Resist that. Give them 3 seconds of real presence first. You'll be amazed how this simple practice changes everything. Dinner together is another opportunity for practice. If possible, eat without TV, without phones, without distractions. Eat mindfully, tasting your food, but also being present with each other. Share stories from the day. Really listen when your partner talks. Practice that deep listening we discussed earlier. When you're tempted to interrupt with your own story or advice, pause. Let them finish. Receive what they're offering. After dinner, many couples collapse into separate activities. TV, computer, phone, everyone in their own bubble. This is understandable. We're all tired. But consider dedicating even 20 minutes to shared practice. You could sit together in meditation. You could take a walk together, mindfully noticing the world around you. You could do a gratitude practice where you each share 3 things you're grateful for. You could practice the loving kindness meditation together, taking turns leading it. These shared practices create connection at a deeper level than just spending time together. You're not just being near each other. You're cultivating positive states together, growing in the same direction. Over time, this creates a powerful bond. You become spiritual companions, not just roommates or co-parents. Conflicts will arise. They always do when people live together. When they do, everything you've learned about right speech, about compassion, about mindfulness comes into play. Before speaking in anger, take 3 breaths. Remember what's underneath the anger, usually hurt or fear. Speak from that vulnerable place. I felt hurt when, rather than attacking, you always. During conflict, if emotions are running too high, it's okay to take a break. I'm feeling too activated to discuss this clearly. Can we pause and come back to it in an hour? This isn't avoiding the issue. It's being responsible for your state, so you can engage skillfully. Use the break to practice. Sit, breathe, do metta practice. Remind yourself that you both want the same thing: to be happy and loved. After conflict, there needs to be repair. Buddhist teachings on forgiveness become essential here. Once the issue is resolved, let it go. Don't keep bringing it up. Don't add it to your mental list of grievances. Forgive, release, return to love. This doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means not letting it poison future moments. Before bed is another powerful time. Some couples practice a bedtime ritual. They sit together and share one thing they appreciated about the other person that day. Or they offer the forgiveness practice we discussed earlier, letting go of small hurts from the day. Or they simply hold hands for a moment, silently offering metta to each other and to all beings as they drift towards sleep. As you lie in bed, you can practice body scan meditation, releasing tension from the day. Or you can practice gratitude, reflecting on the blessings of the day, including the blessing of your partner and your relationship. Even if the day was difficult, you can find something to be grateful for. This practice trains your mind to notice the good, counteracting the negativity bias that focuses only on problems. The teachings also guide how we handle the space and time apart from our partner. Buddhism teaches that we're ultimately responsible for our own happiness. Your partner can support your happiness, but they can't create it for you. So when you're apart, practice cultivating happiness independently. Pursue your interests, maintain your friendships, engage in spiritual practice. This independence, paradoxically, strengthens the relationship. You come together not out of desperate need, but out of genuine choice to share your fullness with each other. Maintain your practice even when times are good. This is crucial. Many people turn to spiritual practice only when they're suffering. When things are going well, they abandon their practice. But practice during good times is what prepares you for difficult times. It's like training for a marathon. You don't wait until race day to start running. You train consistently so you're ready when the challenge comes. Create reminders for yourself. You could set an alarm that goes off 3 times a day, reminding you to take 3 conscious breaths and remember your intention to love skillfully. You could put sticky notes around your home with simple reminders. Breathe. Be present. Loving kindness. You could wear a bracelet or ring that you associate with your practice, so every time you notice it, it brings you back to awareness. Join or create community around these practices. It's hard to practice alone. Find other people, whether it's a meditation group, a Dharma study group, even just one friend who shares your intention to bring Buddhist wisdom into relationships. Share your struggles, your insights, your questions. Learn from each other. Support each other. Practice together when possible. Remember that progress isn't linear. You'll have days when you're mindful, present, loving, patient. You'll have days when you're reactive, disconnected, irritable, selfish. This is normal. The practice isn't about becoming perfect. It's about slowly shifting the ratio. More moments of presence, fewer moments of unconsciousness, more responses from wisdom, fewer reactions from conditioning. Over time, the accumulation of practice creates real change. Be patient with yourself and your partner. This is a lifelong path. You're not going to master these teachings in a month or a year. There's always deeper to go, always more to learn, always new ways these ancient truths can illuminate your life. The Buddha taught for 45 years after his enlightenment. If it took him decades to fully convey these teachings, we can certainly give ourselves time to embody them. Finally, celebrate the small victories. Your partner says something that would have normally triggered you, but you respond with equanimity. That's huge. Acknowledge it internally. You catch yourself about to speak harshly and choose kindness instead. That's the practice working. Be glad. You remember to offer metta to your partner when you wake up. That's beautiful. Let yourself feel good about it. These small moments of victory, accumulated over time, transform not just your relationship, but your entire life. The goal isn't a perfect relationship where nothing ever goes wrong. The goal is a conscious relationship where you're both awake, aware, practicing together, meeting each moment with as much wisdom and love as you can muster. Some moments you'll succeed beautifully. Some moments you'll fail spectacularly. Both are part of the path. Both are opportunities to learn, to grow, to deepen your understanding of these timeless teachings on how to love. Conclusion: the journey of mindful love. We've traveled far together tonight, through ancient forests where monks learned loving kindness from tree spirits, through the heart's territories where attachment gives way to freedom, through the challenging landscape of forgiveness and the vast spaciousness of equanimity. We've touched the deepest teaching of Buddhism, that everything is connected, that your well-being and your partner's well-being, your happiness and the happiness of all beings, are not separate things, but facets of one reality. And we've explored how these profound truths translate into the daily, ordinary moments that actually make up a relationship. But here's what matters most. These aren't just ideas to collect and store away. They're seeds meant to be planted, watered, tended. A teaching you don't practice isn't a teaching at all. It's just information. Interesting, perhaps, but ultimately useless. The Buddha didn't teach philosophy. He taught a path, a way to actually reduce suffering and increase genuine happiness. And that path is walked not in grand gestures, but in small, repeated choices to show up differently, to love more skillfully, to meet each moment with a little more awareness. Tomorrow morning, you'll wake up. Your partner might be beside you, or you might be alone, or you might be navigating the complex territory between relationships. Wherever you are, you have a choice. You can stumble through the day on autopilot, reacting unconsciously to whatever arises, letting old patterns run your life. Or you can remember, even for just a moment, what we've explored tonight. You can take one conscious breath. You can offer one moment of genuine presence. You can speak one word with care instead of carelessness. That's how transformation happens. Not all at once, but choice by choice, moment by moment. The relationship you have, whatever its form, is your practice ground. Every interaction, every conversation, every conflict, every tender moment is an opportunity to apply these teachings. Your partner is not an obstacle to your spiritual growth. They're a catalyst for it. They show you exactly where you're still attached, where you're still reactive, where you're still holding on too tight. They reveal your edges, your defenses, your wounds. And in that revelation is the opportunity for healing. But they're also the one who gets to receive the fruits of your practice. As you cultivate more patience, they benefit. As you develop more compassion, they receive it. As you learn to let go of resentment, your relationship becomes lighter. As you practice presence, they feel truly seen. The work you do on yourself isn't separate from the work of loving them. They're the same work. Here's the paradox at the heart of Buddhist love. The less you need your partner to make you happy, the happier you can be with them. The less you cling to the relationship staying the same, the more you can enjoy it as it is. The less you demand they be anything other than what they are, the more you can appreciate who they actually are. All the holding on, all the controlling, all the demanding, all the needing, it doesn't bring you closer. It creates distance. It's the opening of your hand, the relaxing of your grip, the trusting fall into not knowing that allows real intimacy. You don't need to be perfect at these practices. No one is. The Buddha taught monks who'd been practicing for decades, and they still struggled with anger, with desire, with doubt. You're not going to transcend your humanity. You're going to become more fully human, which means feeling everything more deeply, while also having more space around those feelings. You're going to mess up, speak hastily, act selfishly, close your heart when it should stay open, and then you're going to notice, forgive yourself, and begin again. That's the practice. Not perfection, but beginning again, endlessly, with patience and self-compassion. The teachings we've explored tonight, Metta, non-attachment, mindful presence, right speech, compassion, forgiveness, equanimity, interdependence, they're not separate practices. They're like colors in a painting or instruments in an orchestra. They work together to create something whole. Loving kindness softens your heart. Non-attachment keeps you from clinging. Mindfulness keeps you present. Right speech lets you communicate cleanly. Compassion opens you to suffering without overwhelm. Forgiveness frees you from the past. Equanimity gives you balance. Understanding interdependence connects you to everything. Together, they create a way of loving that's sustainable, that doesn't burn out, that can weather the inevitable storms. This isn't romantic love as our culture usually conceives it. It's not the fairy tale of two people completing each other and living happily ever after. It's more real than that, more grounded, more honest. It's two imperfect people choosing, again and again, to show up for each other with awareness and care. It's love with eyes open, seeing clearly both the beauty and the difficulty, and committing anyway. Not because you need each other, but because you choose each other. Not because you can't live apart, but because life is richer together. And the beautiful thing is that these teachings don't just improve your relationship. They overflow into every area of your life. The patience you cultivate with your partner serves you at work. The mindfulness you develop together helps you navigate stress. The compassion you practice at home radiates outward to strangers. The forgiveness you learn lets you release old wounds from childhood. The equanimity you build helps you face uncertainty with grace. You're not just becoming a better partner. You're becoming a more awake human being. The Buddha said that the path to liberation isn't mysterious or hidden. It's here, in this life, in these relationships, in these very moments. Every time you choose awareness over reactivity, every time you choose kindness over righteousness, every time you choose presence over distraction, you're walking the path. You're not just improving your relationship, you're waking up to the true nature of reality. And that true nature, when you glimpse it, even for a moment, is vast, interconnected, empty of solid self, full of possibility, and fundamentally loving. So here's my invitation. Don't let these teachings remain as beautiful ideas you heard once. Make them your practice. Choose one that resonated most strongly and work with it for the next week. Maybe it's metta practice, 5 minutes each morning, directing loving kindness to yourself and your partner. Maybe it's mindful presence, really seeing your partner once each day instead of just glancing past them. Maybe it's right speech, pausing before you speak to ensure your words are true, kind, and beneficial. Choose one thing and do it consistently. Let it become a habit. Then add another. Slowly build a practice that transforms how you love. And remember, you're not doing this alone. Millions of people across 25 centuries have walked this path before you. They've struggled with the same challenges, discovered the same truths, been transformed by the same practices. You're part of an ancient lineage of people learning to love more skillfully, more deeply, more freely. Their practice supports yours, and your practice will someday support someone else who needs these teachings as much as you did tonight. As you lie here, breathing softly, feel the truth of what we've explored settling into your heart, like snow melting into earth. These teachings aren't foreign to you. They're simply reminding you of what you've always known, at the deepest level, about how to love. Your heart already knows how to open, how to let go, how to stay present, how to forgive. It's been doing this work in its own way all along. The teachings just help you do it more consciously, more consistently, more skillfully. May you love with the vastness of the sky, which holds all weather, without being disturbed. May you love with the steadiness of mountains, which endure through all seasons. May you love with the warmth of sunlight, which gives without keeping account. May you love with the depth of oceans, which contain multitudes. May you love with the patience of rivers, which flow around obstacles without force. May you love with the wisdom of ancient forests, which know how to let go when the time comes. May you and all beings be happy. May you and all beings be free from suffering. May you and all beings live with ease. And may the love you cultivate in your heart ripple outward like light from a lamp, illuminating everything it touches. Before we part, here's my request. If these teachings have served you, if something in what we've explored tonight has opened a door or shed light on your path, please consider sharing this with others who might benefit. Like this video so others can find it. Subscribe to this channel to continue learning. And most importantly, practice these teachings. Share them not just through words, but through how you live, how you love, how you show up in your relationships. That's how these ancient truths stay alive. Through people like you, embodying them in modern life. Thank you for walking this path with me tonight. Thank you for your willingness to look deeply at how you love, to question patterns that no longer serve, to open yourself to new possibilities. Your relationship matters. Your happiness matters. And the work you do to love more skillfully doesn't just affect you and your partner. It affects everyone you encounter, everyone your partner encounters, rippling outward in ways you'll never fully see, but that make this world a little more awake, a little more kind, a little more free. May your path be filled with love. May your relationships be sources of joy and growth. May you walk through life with your heart open and your mind clear. And may you always remember, you're not broken. You don't need fixing. You just need gentle reminders of what your heart already knows. These teachings are those reminders. And this practice, this beautiful, challenging, transformative practice of learning to love is your path home. Be well. Live well. Love well.